welcome back to the second episode of the Humble Hustle Podcast.
What's up, everybody?
We are your hosts, Nick Jones and Kayla Ebner.
Yeah.
And today we're going to be talking about why being creative isn't always enough.
100%. Yeah. And there are anomalies to everything, like we were just talking about. But being creative isn't usually the only thing that it takes, especially with us who we have full-time creative businesses. There are a lot of other things that go into it. So we're going to kind of dive into this topic today.
Okay, yeah. So basically when it comes to, we're more sort of talking strictly about like creative businesses.
Yep.
So we both run photo, video production companies. So like it's not going to apply if you're like, you know, running a restaurant or something like
Right.
non-creative. But for you creatives out there, basically a lot of people think that in the creative world, you just need to, you know how to learn to use a camera, know how to edit, and boom, done. That is the tip of the iceberg. Like, honestly, it's cliche. Some people say it all the time, but it's very, very true. Like, a very small portion of our time is actually out using our cameras. The majority of my time is spent behind a desk.
Yep.
Which is like kind of what people do this for, to avoiding the cubicle life. But honestly, the majority of my time is spent behind my desk and behind my computer.
100%.
Yeah. So I guess when it comes to us specifically, and I guess it kind of relates to the freelance world, but for us being owners of our own businesses, how would you define, a freelancer? Do you identify as a freelance photographer, freelance videographer?
Yeah, this is a tough one. I think
It is,
I think
yeah.
certain people are going to have different definitions of this. To me, a freelancer is not like an incorporated business or like an LLC. Like, to me, a freelancer is someone who is just kind of like hustling out there on their own, doesn't necessarily have a business that's like the umbrella to like who they are as a person. So for me, I don't consider myself a freelancer because I am K. Ebner Creative Inc. I like got the business officially.
Oh, you're an Inc?
I am an Inc. Yeah. Yep. You will be too.
Oh, is that the sign of an S Corp?
That's what it is.
Oh,
yeah.
Interesting.
Corporation Inc.
Oh, got it.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't consider myself a freelancer. I think they're both, a grind. It's just, I think, a little different for someone obviously it's taxed differently and all that. I don't even know how freelancers, operate in terms of that, but
right.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's kind of how I interpreted it as well. Like, if someone was just asking me if I'm a freelancer, I would probably say no. But then I was like thinking about it, and I was getting a little conflicted in my own thoughts because I wasn't really sure.
It's kind of complicated, and I think people probably just see it differently. But for me, I think that's the difference.
Okay, yeah, I pretty much agree. Like, freelancing is also, I think, typically geared towards the amateur side. It's like associated with being an amateur.
Yes, associated. I do know some super talented people that are freelancers, though, that consider themselves freelancers, I guess I would say. So it is like that weird line of like, what really is it? Let us know what you guys think. I don't know. Because this is kind of it's an interesting topic.
And then kind of go off of that, do you consider yourself a professional?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
I was curious, not that I didn't think you were, but I'm curious about this topic in general. Like, at what point does one consider themselves a professional? Do you consider yourself a professional as soon as you're making money off of it? Is it based off experience and time? Is there some other metric that you're trying to measure, like your skill level? Like, I really wasn't sure. So I think you are, and I'm glad you think so too. But yeah, I was wondering what your thoughts are about calling yourself a professional.
That's a really good one too. That's almost as hard as the freelancers business. Yeah. I think for me, it wasn't right when I incorporated the business that I felt like I was a professional. It definitely wasn't because I still feel like, everything was so fresh. I was still kind of trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I dove into the business like head first, just jumped right in. And so I didn't even really have time to think about, am I a professional? But it hit me, I think earlier this year it hit me. I was like, I can do this. Like, I have proven that I can run a successful business, that I have what it takes. And obviously there are still lots of obstacles that will surely come my way, but I've handled enough now where I truly feel like not just, skills wise, but also just my personality. Like, a lot of that is like being a business owner is hard.
It is.
So having what it takes, like, that is also, I think, a big piece of considering yourself a professional. Like, can you physically and emotionally handle it?
Yeah, because there are some people that just aren't cut out for it.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But yeah, I thought that I was a professional. Basically, for me personally, it is a culmination of a lot of things. Time played a factor. I didn't think this right away. It definitely took me a few months, if not like half a year, to really okay, yeah. And then skill level at the beginning, similar. I just wasn't there skill wise. I think I grew that beginning 6 months, I grew really fast in my skills. So that helped.
Yep.
And then, yeah, the mentality. I was like getting over that imposter syndrome, which a lot of people still have. And I think that's totally normal to have. But I do think it's important to eventually kind of almost outgrow it and make sure that, you recognize yourself as how good you are. And this gets a little tricky because some people will then think they're better than they are. And it's really finding that balance of humbling yourself, pun intended, humble hustle. But, finding that real balance of knowing your exact skill level, not necessarily undermining yourself and not thinking you're better than you are, which a lot of people do. But making sure that you see yourself at the right level is important when it comes to, working on projects and offering your skills to people. You don't want to offer something that you can't actually follow through on because you think you can, but in reality you can't.
Yep.
But yeah, I just wanted to hear your take on that professional stuff.
Yeah. No, I think that there are a lot of things that go into it, and we'll kind of start diving into a couple of the things that not only are creative, skill sets or characteristics is the word I was looking for that you need to have, but also, there's a business side to it, at least for both of us, where there's so much more than being creative. And that's kind of what we wanted to talk about is, for us, being creative isn't good enough.
I don't know about you, but I didn't take a single business class when I was in college.
Nope.
Not a single one. Not even a marketing class. Nothing related to that. Everything business related, I learned on the fly, on the go. I learned all my creative stuff in school and online YouTube stuff. But everything business related came from learning from other people. A little bit of YouTube. But yeah, it all came externally. And yeah, it's... Now I know, I didn't used to know this, but now obviously that stuff, in my opinion, isn't equally as important. It's more important than the creative stuff.
Yes.
If you know how to use a camera, great. Everyone can use a camera.
Yeah.
But if you know how to lock down a 5-figure deal, amazing. Not everyone can do that.
Yep.
There is a significant difference between people who can do that and people who can't.
Yeah.
Their camera skill level might be the same, but simply based on how they are in that type of professional communication standpoints, and as we'll get into the other stuff, but there's a huge difference, and it shows.
It does.
Having the features, not the features, the skill set needed, it's so obvious.
Yeah.
How much it is needed to be successful.
Yeah. Everything is experience. You can go to school and learn and read about it and watch videos, and it helps. But when you're hands-on and you're learning this stuff, that is when, for me, that's where the real growth happens.
I agree.
I talked about in the previous episode, I had no intentions of starting a business at all. So for me, when I did make that leap and decide to do that, there was a lot that I had to learn about being a business owner that I just had no clue about. And luckily, I had really talented friends like you to lean on, and still do. and I have great mentors. My dad is a business owner, so he gives me a lot of great advice, but it is a lot about experience and just doing it.
I think, yeah, the most I've learned is probably in the field, learning from other people. And one thing that I think you need to be really good at is listening, which I think,
Yeah.
okay, so everything we're about to say, let me get this out of the way. Everything we're about to say is some simple stuff, man.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Nothing
Yeah.
we say here is revolutionary.
Nope.
So
No hot takes.
you're going to hear this and be like, yeah, obviously I know that.
Yeah.
But I promise you, you aren't doing some of these things because of how simple they are. You overlook them. And it's all about, I feel like Bill Belichick, like focusing on the fundamentals.
Yes. Yeah. And trust us, we both know people who do not do these things, and it shows.
It
and,
really shows.
You know, you're right. The simple things are so important.
So yeah, with that out of the way, let's get into some simple stuff.
Let's dive in.
So if there was one thing that I think, like a skill set that I think you need to have to be successful, this can go for anything, any business. It's awareness. And I say awareness as a vague statement on purpose because I mean it in so many different ways. The first way, it could be self-awareness, which I think is extremely, extremely important. You need to be self-aware enough to know your skill set, kind of like what I was saying earlier, to humble yourself, to know how good you actually are. You need to be self-aware enough to, know those things, but also act upon them. If you know you're good at something, keep doing it. If you know you're struggling in other places, actively work on improving it. So having that mental awareness to just know those things about yourself and
Yep.
who you are as a person, huge.
Yep.
Then there's things like simple spatial awareness. That's pretty obvious, but on set, there are so many times. I mean, I'm not totally out of this. I blame myself every once in a while, sure. But on set, you'll kick a tripod, you'll hit some lights over, like the small things like that.
Happens to the best of us.
It does happen, but you have to really try not to because one, it makes you and your team look bad.
Yep.
Like the client's gonna be like, "What is this guy doing? Like kicking stuff over?
Like
you're
charge your batteries. Don't
Yeah.
be charging
Oh my God,
batteries on
Don't
a
show up
shoot.
with dead batteries. Like, stuff like that. Like, just be aware.
Yeah.
That type of stuff. And then there's a bit more complex stuff like social awareness. So this means, I have an example. So there was a shoot. There was two people we were filming. And one of them was like very camera ready. Like they were very experienced on camera. The other person, not so much. Totally willing to do it, just didn't have as much experience as the other person. And the experienced one throughout the shoot was like crushing it as always, having a great old time. The other person wasn't like hating it, but like it was very obvious to me that they weren't necessarily comfortable with what was happening and like how trying to match that person's energy level was difficult for them. And I could see that because I was able to read their body language, understand the situation. And the experienced one had no idea what was going on. They were just in their own bubble, doing their own thing, crushing it. But throughout the day, I would go over to the other person and check in on them and be like, just simple things like, how are you doing? Like, are you okay with doing this? Like, do you want to try and rework this?
Like you're doing great. Positive
Trying to work with them
feedback.
to just make them feel better about the situation, make sure they're having a good time is important. And it helped them kind of get through the day. After the shoot was over, they came up to me and they verbally said how much they appreciated I was doing that because they knew that it was uncomfortable for them.
Yeah.
So they appreciated me trying to like make them feel better.
Yes.
And
that's
was
huge.
That's my job. Like
Yep.
I don't see my job as filming the video. That's part of it.
Yep.
But I care about the entire set, about everyone on the set. And if I saw their body language and I was able to read that, that's what I mean by that social awareness. Like just being aware enough to know the people around you, reading people. The body language is huge.
Yep.
And learning how to do that is just, I don't know, like really just, it helps so much.
It
I don't know
makes
how
a
else to say it.
difference. You're not just there to press record and you're
No.
not just there to set up the lighting and make sure that everything comes out great, because what you just did helped the end product tremendously.
Absolutely.
The amount of people that tell me that I made them feel so much more comfortable and that they were nervous, but that I really was able to calm them down and make them feel better. that for me is the best compliment anyone could ever give me. Like if I'm able to make you feel a little bit more comfortable, I'm good. And that's half the battle, because
For sure.
being in front of a camera isn't natural for most people. It's really uncomfortable. And so many people will say, oh my God, like I can talk about this all day, and then you press record and I feel like I forgot everything.
Yeah, that happens
That's
all the
very
time.
normal. It's normal for us too. Like we're not perfect. It's hard. I hate being in front of a camera. It's not natural. So making the person that you're working with or people that you're working with feel comfortable is so huge, and just having those people skills is amazing, and it impacts the work for sure. I agree.
Yeah, I feel like, I don't know, 80% of the time we're on a set. Most of it is just talking to the people.
Oh yeah.
And just like
Yeah.
having normal conversations with them. You don't have to talk about what you're working on the entire time. Like ask them, what they like to do. Like
Yes.
find some common ground. Just have normal
Yes.
conversations with these people.
Yes.
They're human. They're not just like an actor. Like,
Yep.
They just want to be real.
Yep. And as much as you are a videographer or a producer on a set, you're also kind of a coach, because
Yeah.
not many people you interact with on shoots are going to have experience with it. So if they don't have experience, it's really important for you to dive into that and make them feel comfortable, because the more someone does this, like I have a few clients I work with on a regular basis, they're pros. Like they got it down. But for the people you haven't worked with yet, it takes time to build that trust. And doing things like that, like you asked, how was your day? How was your holiday? Like remembering things that people told you, either whether it's in an email chain or if it was in a call before, and bringing that stuff up. God, that goes so far.
That goes back to just, being a good listener.
Yes.
And like being someone I'm like an introverted extrovert. So like being an introvert, like I'm good at listening.
Yeah.
That's not all introverts, but
Yep.
like that's a common trait in introverts to good listeners.
Yes.
So I might not have the best memory, but at least I'm listening.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And you're not going to remember everything, but just, taking the time to make things a little bit personal. I always try to do that, man. Just get to know people and make them feel like they're not just there to get this project done. Like
Exactly.
you want
Like, no one
them
wants
to
to feel like that.
succeed.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. What's another thing that you think is important?
I guess just simple organization. Just like being an organized person will get you so far in life no matter what you're doing.
Yes.
Like Kayla and I are huge on time management and punctuality. I'm huge on punctuality.
Yep.
Like, what is it saying? On time is late, early is on time, right? So,
Amen. Amen.
except for today, because Kayla was late.
I know, I was 5 minutes late.
But
5
I'm
minutes
not-
grace
I'm
period.
not gonna hold it against her.
I was mad too. I was like, damn it. And Nick texted me. He got there like 10 minutes early at least. Or that's at least just when you texted me.
Yeah,
Yep.
I was there before I texted you. This is what happens. No matter where I am, I get to my location and I spend like 15 minutes just sitting in the car. And then sometimes I'm like, okay, I don't want to text the person I'm here 15 minutes early. They'll think I'm insane. Let me just sit here for 5 minutes by myself. And then I'll text them when I'm like 9 minutes out. So it's like, all right,
Yeah.
under 10 minutes early, that's a normal person.
Yes.
I don't want them to know how insane I am.
Yeah. Sometimes I park down the street from a shoot if I'm too early. So,
Oh, yeah.
because I don't want them to see me sitting in my car. Have you done that?
Yes. Like if there's like say it was like a grocery store plaza or something that's like
Oh, yeah.
down the road, I'll chill in there and then I'll like, all right, it's time to go. And I'll
Pull
drive
in.
like 2 minutes down the road to the other parking lot.
Easy peasy. Oh my
We're
gosh.
crazy. Holy shit.
We're crazy. No, but like that goes a long way with a client. You don't
No, it
want to be
does.
late. It's just not a good impression on a client.
Like I've had someone, they reached out to me. I answered, I think it was a holiday. I think it was like, maybe it was like the day before Thanksgiving or something. But I answered within like 10 minutes of getting the email. He appreciated that. We hopped on a phone call that same day. He again acknowledged like how he appreciated my promptness and
Yep.
my punctuality. Calling him right on time. It was like a 1 o'clock call. I was staring at my phone, went from 12:59 to 1 o'clock, dial.
Yep.
And he's like, I really appreciate that. And I'm like,
Yep.
I like punctuality. And he was saying, like, it's a rare trait these days.
Oh,
And
God,
I'm like,
yeah.
oh, you don't have to tell me. I'm aware.
Sometimes I feel like people look at me on shoots if they're meeting me for the first time and they just see a child, like, because we're young.
That happens.
That happens to me a lot. They're like, oh, you like,
Especially
this
if we're
is just
working
you.
with, like, 50-year-olds and older.
Yes.
Like,
Yep.
and it's just some kids showing up. Like,
Yeah. No, it's definitely, it can be kind of like a barrier at first, but
I hate that, honestly.
I do hate it. Yeah. But, again, it just takes building that trust and everything. And before anyone says they are not, it's just not in their nature to be organized and that they are just a messy person. No, I call bullshit on that.
That is bullshit.
Because
Like,
that was me. In middle school, I was so irresponsible. I would like lose things. I would leave my purse in class all the time. I would just forget it. I would leave my phone everywhere and lose it. I would lose track of everything. And I learned and built habits that helped me overcome that.
Okay,
so we live by our Google calendars. I know you do just as much as I do.
even like the simplest thing, if we have a
Yeah.
phone call, a simple phone call,
Send
like,
an invite.
we could just text each other, FaceTime, whenever, but like, no, a phone call, it's
Yeah.
going in the Google Calendar.
Yeah, because then I might book something, and if I don't write things down, I forget. Like I get busy, I get overwhelmed, just like everybody else has their own stuff, their own things they're dealing with, their own busy lives.
Right.
If I don't write it down, I will forget. So that's one simple tip. Like we said, go back to the basics. Write it down on a sticky note. But if you're someone who's going to lose a sticky note, put it in your phone. Put it in your calendar.
I used to be a big sticky note person.
Yeah, I am sometimes.
I think I've transferred everything to be digital.
Yeah,
Like
it's just easier.
in college, I was a huge sticky note person.
Mm.
Like I sat in front of my desk was in front of a window, and like I had a monitor too. So my monitor was full of sticky notes, and the window in front of me was full of sticky notes.
Yep.
But I think at this point, I'm all about efficiency.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, let me consolidate everything into my laptop. So notes,
sure.
calendar, everything.
Yeah.
Like, do I miss the handwriting sometimes? But faster. And
I
easier
really
for
like
me.
crossing things off sometimes. So I do sometimes
That
like
is
write a
satisfying.
physical list, but I also have an app that I use for my project management that what do I use? ClickUp. What do you use?
So yeah, that's a good segue. Like having a task manager system.
Yes.
When you're a business owner, huge.
Mm-hmm.
I will admit, currently, not the best at using one. So ever since I started this new company, I've been pretty bad at that. I've managed in other ways, like I just haven't used a traditional task management system. For 2 years, I used Trello, which is
I've used that before.
fairly common, fairly basic. I definitely don't use any of them to their full potential. Like all these apps, platforms, whatever, have so many features that I'm never going to touch. All I need is the most simple thing. Like, here's a task. Make sure you do this.
Yep.
That's literally all I needed to do for me.
Yep.
So finding one that is simple enough that doesn't overwhelm me is key. But then finding one that I actually like to use, like the user interface, I guess,
Yes.
is also important to me.
Yep.
So after trying a bunch, I've now landed on Notion, which I have used in the past, but then I abandoned, and I'm trying to get back into it for the sole reason of how aesthetic it can be.
Yeah.
Because like that's important to me. Like that's part of
Yep.
my brand. Like I like aesthetically pleasing things.
Yeah. You have
And,
a
like,
background in graphic design a little bit, right?
No.
No?
I just like graphic. I like design.
Oh, you're just good at it.
I wouldn't say I'm good.
Yeah, I would say so.
Well, thank you.
I would say so. I look at your Instagram feed. She looks perfect.
I've
wish I had that.
tried.
I wish I had that
appreciate
trait. I do not have that trait, unfortunately.
I appreciate design, like everything. I
Yep.
love interior design, like that type of stuff too. So yeah, I have an appreciation for it, but yeah, just having a nice looking system is important. So Notion is super minimal. Like I love a good minimalistic vibe. It's minimal, aesthetic, and it does what I need to do. And it can be used super complex in complex ways and stuff. If I want to venture down that road, the option's there. But for now, I keep it simple.
Yep. Yeah, simple's best. Most cases, I think simple is
Less
best.
is more, as they say.
Less is more. Yeah. And you don't have to do anything crazy. Just find what works for you and write it down. And you do have to hold yourself accountable.
I know like it's easier said than done when we say like use a calendar.
Yeah.
I'll admit, probably before college, never used a calendar.
Yeah.
College kind of made me just to like, keep track of assignments and stuff like that. And running a business now, it's drilled into me every single day. I look at my calendar, no matter what.
I don't know how people live without one.
Growing that habit, though, I feel like is difficult. If
Yeah.
you are now never looking at your calendar,
Yes.
going from that to look at it every day,
Yes.
very hard to do.
Yep.
I admit that. So
Yeah.
I just want to acknowledge that I know it's difficult.
Yeah,
and-
definitely.
But I do
necessary.
encourage you to at least try to build that habit. It's going to
Yeah.
take time, but we could not say more good things about having a calendar.
Yeah. Yep. And being organized in general, like you said, being on time goes a really long way with clients and just keeping track of things.
Are there any other things that you use, like aside from the task manager, like ClickUp?
I use my reminders on my phone for small things. Like if I
okay.
say, some people don't like to put a time in a calendar for a call. So like if someone tells me like, oh, call me around 1:00, which I kind of hate, but it's
I
fine.
hate that. And if they say that, I just call it one.
Yeah, I write a reminder though, and like my phone will go off and be like, oh, it's time to call this person. So I use my reminders. Other than that, it's just ClickUp and Google Calendar, like my major two staples.
Yeah, no, those are key.
What else? Other important traits when running a business. A big one for me, I think this would be like my big one, like yours was awareness, resilience. And it sounds very dramatic, but I think it's very true in the fact that as a business owner, you are the sole person who is responsible for everything. And that can be really intimidating. And you can kind of you could spend your whole day doing nothing. And it's going to bite you in the ass. But you have to have the discipline, which is another big one. You have to have the discipline to not do that and to be productive and to use your time wisely, because I love being able to make my own schedule and not having a 9 to 5 and being able to do things when I need to and run errands and, do all the things. But
That's like the best.
it's
honestly.
really, but it's also really hard. And for someone who might not be as organized or as disciplined, you might not be very successful in that kind of an environment. It's just true.
Yeah, I'm huge on discipline. Like,
Yeah.
I completely agree with everything you just said. And I think, you could totally do nothing all day. And a lot of people just aren't used to having needing the discipline to force yourself to do work.
Yeah.
They're just used to being told,
Show up.
here are tasks, do these tasks and you're done.
Yep.
That's what people are just used to in the normal workplace.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have your own business, it is completely different.
Yep.
Like, it's pretty much why I work all the time. Like, if I don't, nothing horrible is going to happen if I take a day off, obviously. But I just love the feeling of progression. I've always had this. Like, I just like knowing that I'm constantly moving forward. I know sometimes, one step, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Like, going backwards isn't the end of the world. But just knowing that I'm progressing pretty much every day because I'm working every day, that feeling motivates me.
Yep.
And like having discipline is different than having willpower, but off the top of my head, I forget the difference. But I know there is a difference.
Yeah. I don't know either.
I'll have to Google it.
Yeah.
That'll be a different episode.
Give it a go.
But basically, there is a
Similar.
difference. And having discipline, I don't know. I just lost my train of thought.
It's important to have discipline, period. Nothing else needs to be said about it. If you don't have discipline, you're just not going to be as successful. And I do think that this concept of people who own their own business can do whatever they want at any time. And I think people who see business owners from the outside are like, they just do nothing all day. Like they
That's
work
so
for
true.
like
No,
3
that's so true.
hours and then they're done. No, I get up and the first thing I do, listen, I'm not saying this is good practice, but the first thing I do is stare at my screen and look at my to-do list and map out what I need to get done that day. And then maybe I go to the gym. I like to get my workout in the morning, and then you come back and like it's right back to the grind. And then I usually end my night sitting in front of my computer again. Like it's
So true.
it's not 9 to 5. It's 24/7. You're just, I agree. And I feel for what you said about you work all the time. Cause I do feel like it's so easy to do that, especially cause my office is home. So,
The important thing though, so this is something I heard from Alex Hormozy.
okay.
Love that guy. But basically, we work all the time. But the important thing is we want to.
Yes.
Like that's the
We
key
like
thing
it.
here. Like we don't do it because we have to. We kind of have to if we want our business to succeed.
If we want to make money.
If you care about
we
your
wanna,
business
like,
and
pay
you
our
need
bills
money,
and stuff.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
have to.
Yep.
But there are so many people who take time off, take the full weekends off, go party, go drink, do whatever you want on your free time. I'm just wired different. Like
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. I want to work.
Yep.
And like he was saying, like, what is healthy? People say, oh, working all the time, that's not healthy. What is healthy? Like,
Right.
something that's healthy for you might not be healthy for me. Like, why would I spend less time? This is what he said. Why would I spend less time doing something I want to be doing and more time doing something I'd rather be doing less of?
Yep.
Like, I
sure.
completely agree with that statement.
Yeah.
And the important thing is to know like when you do need a break, because we all need breaks. I'm not saying you
Yes.
don't. I need breaks. I just don't need as many or as long of a break as the everyday person. My version of a break consists of ending my day by binge watching a Netflix show or like Disney Plus, whatever, or like playing a video game. Like a couple hours of that, I'm good.
Yep.
I'll go to bed. I'll wake up the next day, do it all over again.
Yes.
Like, that is all I need.
Yep.
I don't need to go on these crazy vacations, need to go, have these crazy
Detox.
things. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't need that. Like, that's great and that works for people. That doesn't work for me.
Right.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, something that's healthy for you isn't healthy for me.
Yep. And would you say that part of the reason why you're able to work so much is because you like what you do?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Like, that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
Basically, like, I cannot imagine myself doing anything else. I just love doing this. And I think similar to what I said earlier, like my love for progression is like the underlying driving force behind everything. It's almost an obsession. It's like I'm obsessed with getting better.
Yes. Some people will look back. I've heard some videographers and photographers say like they look back at their old work and they cringe. And I'm like,
Oh,
if you're not
if you're
cringing,
not-
you're
yeah,
not growing.
exactly.
You're not getting any better. You're
I cringe
not
from
growing.
stuff I filmed 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
2 weeks ago, Nick, you sucked.
Oh man. No, it's true though. It's true. If you're not looking back at the stuff that you filmed and being like, yikes.
I mean, yeah, that's another
Like,
thing.
what are you
that's
doing?
A thing that's kind of, I don't know, like unpopular. Like, I'm more hard on myself than most people. And people are going to be like, yeah, it's good to be hard on yourself, but, not that hard. I kind of disagree. Like, me being extremely, extremely hard on myself kind of complements and aids my obsession to grow. It like
Yes.
forces me to grow faster.
Yes.
So like that's why
Yeah.
I do that to myself. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna look down on myself for like sucking. It's like,
You are hard on yourself.
no, I'm not gonna.
Damn,
I don't do
guys.
that. I don't do that.
I think we need Nick to give him some positive affirmations. I think he needs to hear it.
It's just like I look at it and I'm like, all right, yeah, like this came out pretty good, but I could have done that better. I could have done that better.
Yeah.
I'm like realistic. I feel
Yes.
like even I would just finished a product video that I'm very happy with. Honestly, I know there are things that I could have done better, but there always are.
Always.
And it's
Always.
like, okay, I'm satisfied though. Like that's
Yeah.
the key thing. At the end of
Yes.
the day, I'm satisfied with it. I'll move on.
Yeah. And you're learning from every experience too. Like if you're not, we won't necessarily learn if we don't make mistakes. So making those mistakes, especially, being in only year two of my business, like I learn every single day. I learn what not to do. I learn what I did right, and I write them down because taking those experiences and those mistakes and those triumphs and applying it every day and remembering it for the future is huge. And I never want to make the same mistake twice.
That's underrated, I feel. I feel
Yeah.
like people always focus more on like noting your mistakes to not do those again, but they forget to note the things you did well,
The
to
small
keep doing
wins.
those things.
Celebrate the small wins. You have to.
Yeah.
Because it's an exhausting thing to do is own a business. So if you
God.
don't take the
Tired all
time
the time.
if you don't take the time to celebrate yourself and recognize what you've accomplished and all the things that have gone right and the things you've done right, and you're just focusing on the negatives and the things that you need to work on, it's not going to be a positive experience.
Yeah,
It's just not.
exactly. And we need that positivity.
Yes.
Like
And
I might
it's
be
just
hard on
ourselves.
myself, but
I'm patting myself on the back all the time because
Dude.
that's what you got to do.
you do.
You're
So
the only one. It's
Alex
just
and
you.
I were talking a few months ago, and we were saying that like being by yourself, no one ever tells you like good job or
Yes.
like I'm proud of you.
Yes.
So
Alex,
and I were
your
in the
friend
car.
Alex?
Yeah, you know Alex.
Yes.
So we were in the
They don't
car
know Alex.
once, and we were talking about this, and we were like, you know what, man, I'm proud of you. He's like, I'm proud of you too.
Oh my God. Like it's the
was just
best
so
when
funny.
someone tells me they're proud of me. That hits me in my feels, right in the chest. I love it because you don't hear it a lot, and it doesn't really hit the same if you're telling yourself. Like I try to tell myself that I'm proud of myself, but it feels a little odd.
A little bit.
It's a little weird.
I mean, sometimes I'll be, if I know I crushed something and I'm like driving home by myself, I'll be like, yeah, we crushed that.
Yes. Blast that music, vibe out. Yeah. No, but it is. It's lonely sometimes. And
It is. That's for sure.
man, gotta celebrate those small wins. So
Even though it's lonely and stuff, like all these kind of negative things we're saying, all those positives outweigh all
oh
this.
God,
Like,
of
I would
course. We wouldn't still be doing this
I
if
would
it wasn't.
not be doing anything else. Like
Yeah.
I just love doing this.
Me too. Do you think you have to be passionate about what you do to be successful?
No is the short answer, but I will say it will help significantly if you are passionate about it. So it's not necessarily exactly the same thing 'cause they weren't owning a business, but I have an example. So I used to work with someone who made YouTube videos, and his full-time job was not being a content creator. He had a full-time job, but the YouTube stuff was supposed to complement that to help him. And, you know, the actual process of filming the videos, taking hours out of his day, which is already busy as is, to spend with us to film videos, he didn't love it. He didn't like, it's not like he didn't like us, but, you know, it was almost a waste of time for him. He saw it. And I admit, like, I can see why he would think that, because he's not used to thinking about content in the way we do. But as soon as we were able to show him the results and he started to see like some real positive stuff that was helping his other business, he would suck it up and do it. But he hated the actual process of filming it. However, he was really, really good at it, which is also very uncommon. So the combination of hating it, but being really good at it, like he still saw how much it outweighed his hatred for it.
Yep.
Because the results. And that's kind of how I see it. Like you can have a business. I think anyone can start a business about anything, even if they don't give a crap about it. And they can build it to be successful if they work hard and they bring in the right people, do whatever.
Yes.
Like I could make a business about, I don't know, making pillows. I don't care about pillows, but I could find a way to make a successful pillow company if I wanted to.
Yes.
I'm not passionate towards it, but if I know how to build the business, I can do it.
Yep.
If I loved pillow making, if I was obsessed with pillows, my product would probably be better.
A lot better.
And it would probably be a more successful business. So being passionate about it would probably help it,
Yeah.
but I don't think it's necessary.
Right. Yeah.
That was
like,
a weird example. But
no,
I think
it's
that worked.
perfect. It was
I
perfect.
saw a pillow on the floor.
I love a good pillow. Yeah, I agree. I think for me, some of the content that I think I do best is fitness and sports because I love working out. I'm a total gym rat. And so I think that I know how to film certain, sequences and like just film fitness in general because I can relate to it and because I love doing it myself. And I love working with gyms for that reason. It's just because I can really relate to it. And I think the end product comes out that much better when you love what you do. Like, there's been plenty of projects, especially in the beginning of the business, where I wasn't too jazzed about it. It's not like I went out and picked it, but at the beginning I was taking everything that I could get. And that's just kind of what you do in the beginning. And, I didn't necessarily love the subject, but, still put a ton of effort into it. It's just, it wasn't as, I guess, fun for me as some of the other stuff that I get to do.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest. There are definitely projects I work on that I will put in less effort on than others. And I'm not saying I'll half-ass it. Mm-hmm. I hate that.
Me too.
And I hate people who do half-ass things.
Yes.
By less effort, that's not what I mean. I mean, yeah, I'll put in the effort that is necessary to get a great result.
Yes. What they're looking for. But then
there are projects that I really love, or like the product stuff I work on. I love doing that.
Yep.
So I will gladly spend double the time working on that type of thing than I would be working on something else.
Yes.
And yeah, I'm not afraid to say that.
Right. Yeah, no, I think it's just reality. You're not going to love everything that you do. No one's ever going to love everything they do. But if you like it a majority of the time, I think you're winning. And I think, there are people out there who don't necessarily have a passion, and that's okay too. Like, not everyone's going to be passionate about their job. They're just working because everyone has to work, because that's the world we live in. And that's okay. But I do think that, having something that you're excited to do every day, like for us, every day is going to be different. And I love that. And I wouldn't change that for anything. I love that my days are different and I get to work with a bunch of different people and learn about different fields. I work with an HVAC company. I'm learning all about how like their projects go.
That's
and
honestly
everything.
One of the best parts. Like,
it's so cool.
Getting, not necessarily being in one niche, and like the fact that we work with a lot of different industries and types of businesses. I like learning about these things.
Yes.
Like, there's times I do some work with the University of New Hampshire, and like their like higher education projects, like they'll have to give us a rundown of what we're about to film. So I've learned stuff about like forest beetles, invasive species, osteoporosis, like a bunch of random stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, I would have never learned this stuff if I wasn't doing this.
Right. Yeah. That's definitely a perk of the job. I love just learning new things and just getting different insights into other people and organizations that, I don't think you would get in a normal job.
Going back to the, kind of like money type stuff. I was going to say, one of my friends once told me that there are a couple types of jobs. Like for us, there's like the like passion project-y jobs, like jobs that you just love doing that you don't care necessarily about the price. Like it could be a cheaper budget, but you'd still do it because you love doing that type of stuff. And those are the ones you just do because you love. Then there's the money-making projects that are like probably a little bigger, maybe more corporate-y, and corporate-y can be interpreted as potentially boring. But also sometimes higher paying budgets. So like you sacrifice a little bit of the love and energized passion for the topic.
Yep.
But you need to pay the bills.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's real.
1,000%.
Like you gotta, like everyone needs to pay the bills.
Yep.
So you need projects that can generate enough income to do so.
It's about a balance. You're not going to you can't do 100% of either. You have to just kind of find gotta find the balance.
Yeah. Like there will always be projects that we do that we don't necessarily want to
do. Yeah, for sure. Well, I feel like that kind of covers, the topic of like being creative isn't good enough. We both believe that in most cases, you can't just be one thing. There's a lot of different things that go into owning a business. For us personally, we are very organized, very on time, and we have seen the benefits of that. and
Absolutely.
building trust with clients is so important. And so just being a well-rounded individual is what we're both striving for in reality. Keeping it simple, doing the simple things that it takes, and hopefully you guys got some takeaways from what we talked about.
All right. So with that being said, that's it for this one. We will see you in the next episode.
Yeah. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Spotify for the next one. See you guys.